Hey everybody, welcome to Season 3 of Song Revolution. Get ready to ramp up your songwriting. Hey everybody, John Chisum here, president of Nashville Christian Songwriters. Thank you for joining us on the Song Revolution podcast, here with my co-host Bryant Urich today to just continue to pour into you. We exist to empower you as a Christian songwriter and artist, and we want to just pour out everything that we possibly can to help you on your journey. I like to say it every week. If you haven't downloaded our NCS 2025 Songwriting Challenge Guide, the link is right there in the show notes. And we want to download to you skills and knowledge throughout this whole year so that you level up, ramp up, you get excited and on fire for your songwriting again. I know it can be kind of lonely out there, and we want to help you feel like you belong, because you do. We're glad you're here. Bryant, how are you today?
I'm great, man.
Good.
Here we are. We're back.
Here we are. We're back. So it's March. This is Finding Your Mission as a Christian Artist month.
Yeah.
We've been following along the Songwriting Challenge Guide, and every month our podcast, our free Monday monthly training happens every first Monday of the month. Social media, everything we're doing is all around this theme.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think it's working. I think people are
great.
kind of enjoying it.
Yeah, it gives a nice roadmap for the whole year. So you know what to expect. We know what to expect. We know what's coming down the pike. So I'm excited about this month. This has been great.
Valuable information and instruction and inspiration too. You know, like I just said in the intro, my brilliant intro a moment ago, it can be kind of lonely, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think of the people out in little towns in Texas or Colorado or California or wherever, and you're out there and you're writing, you feel this passionate call, but don't quite know where to connect, how to connect into something that's larger than you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember, I mean, I've told my story many times, but I wrote a song, my first real song for Jesus when I was 18, and just wanted so badly for the world to hear it. Kind of glad now they didn't, because it wasn't a great song. But, I know that feeling. I know what it's like to feel called to the world, but don't know how to get there. So that's why God created NCS.
Yeah. Well, a couple weeks ago, we talked about finding your mission, right, as a Christian songwriter, and now today talking more about developing that mission. And a lot of times there's a big gap between finding that mission and actually seeing it come to life, right? Like it can be decades, it can be 20, 30 years. For some people, even they've come to NCS later in life and they've, 50, 60 years old wanting to write songs for the first time because they felt like they were supposed to for a long time. Yeah. So there can be, it's God's timeline versus what we think it should be, So it's cool to see people on both ends of the spectrum.
It really is. And we work with people who are teenagers all the way up to people in their 70s.
Yep.
And what I thought of a moment ago when you said that is that what we've been able to do is kind of pull back the curtain on what the music business is about and how to make music. Last month was about music production, and we talked about how music is really made, everything from the songwriting moment, a voice memo, all the way up to full-blown master production, which is what we do. We do it all. I mean, we do everything in between. But pre-digital, it was such a mysterious kind of thing. I mean, music was being made in Nashville, Memphis, New York, L.A., predominantly, a little in Chicago and maybe some other places. But now you make music on your phone and maybe go to a home studio it's just very different these days, right?
Yeah.
So we've been able to lay out for our listeners, the people who follow what we do, the entire process and to make it attainable and accessible. But it all comes back to the song, of course, which is most important. But
and the mission behind the song, like, well, what's the purpose here, right? Like, why are you writing the song? Why are you releasing the song? And that all comes back to your your specific mission, your calling
Exactly.
as a songwriter.
And no two callings are alike.
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
talk to writers, our clients or potential writers that we're going to be working with, sometimes it's hard to nail down what that mission is. And that's
Totally.
why I think it's important that we continue to help you guys to do that, right? Because if you don't know what your target is, you'll never know when you hit it. And people say things, well, I just want to encourage people. Well, you can encourage people with a smile. You can encourage people with a handshake or a hug, But when it comes to songs, what does encouragement mean? It's so broad. It's so vague. Or to evangelize.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of think we know what that means, but how are you going to do that? And what does that really mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's definitely like the calling that we all feel and share to spread the gospel, to spread hope, spread love. Like, how does that translate for your specific audience or your specific situation or your skill set? We talked a lot about like your natural leanings on a couple weeks ago. How can you use your natural giftings, abilities to carve out your specific path as a songwriter? So, yeah, I think in developing your mission, we were kind of talking before we started the show. It's like partners or people coming alongside you or building a team around what you're doing. A lot of times people refer to that as like fans or in the industry space, right? It's like getting people to listen, getting people to pay attention, marketing, all of that. But even bigger than that, it's like who are your cheerleaders? Who are your supporters? Who are your people who are like understanding your vision and helping you flesh it out and develop it? And that's what we do all the time here.
Yeah, exactly. And as I was saying a moment ago, I'm not sure we've simplified the process, but we have definitely broken it down to where our listeners can understand the progression of music making from songwriting to actually releasing on digital service providers, DSPs. But without clarifying your mission, you can throw away a whole bunch of time and money and not be very effective. Without getting clear. And that's why we created our programs so that we could help. We could walk alongside you guys watching today and help you clarify that mission. When I think about people, I was just on a call with a gentleman a moment ago who said his calling was evangelism. And he had been part of evangelistic ministries all of his ministry career. He's in his 60s now. And yet his songs really didn't reflect that. The ones I reviewed, it's like they didn't really reflect what he was telling me he wanted to reflect. They were kind of confused and confusing and had paid a bunch of money to get them recorded, but they really weren't very effective in drawing people to Christ, right? And so I talked to him a little bit about that. And I think about a group like the Newsboys. Did you grow up listening to the Newsboys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think 8 out of 10 of their songs are about giving your life to Jesus. Many of their songs, go back and look, are really about, coming to Jesus, right? Basically altar call songs in rock and roll format. You know?
Shine was like my intro. Shine, make them wonder what you got.
Shine.
Make them wish that they were not on the outside looking bored or something like that.
Yeah. So they're all kind of toward that. So they were very targeted. And I worked at the record company that they were at, Star Song Media, back in the day. And I was over in the publishing area, so I interacted with their songs, but not with them so much. But some of my dear friends, one of my dear friends that passed away, Mike Kyle, actually managed Newsboys for a number of years, and Petra. And so was kind of in that whole thing. And Petra was evangelistic as well. That was kind of their focus, It's hard to say foci. Is that a word?
It is now.
F-O-C-I. Foci. Foci.
Multiple focuses.
Foci. So, but point being, those two bands were pretty clear on what they were doing. And they would
Sure.
do the festivals and their tours, and they would see scores of young people give their lives to Jesus. And so they were very focused on that. Think of any artist today, and can you tell me their foci? Think of a Lauren Daigle. Can you think of anything that would be kind of in your mind as familiar as you might be?
Yeah, I mean, she just sang at the Super Bowl, which was awesome. Did you see that?
I did.
She sang right before. She sang "God Bless America," like during the pre-game show.
How fun for her.
Yeah, I mean, for her, and she's amazing. She's gone through a lot of different iterations, as you do as an artist over the years. Her first record being probably one of the most successful records, if not the most successful record that year, with "How Can It Be" and all of those early songs. I don't know. I've always felt like Lauren's just radiates like hope and peace and like joy. And so her thing, as she even became more popular outside of the Christian market even and started to kind of be more mainstream and do more things, she's always just carried that message of hope. And, even in an arena that's like not overtly Christian even, or a mainstream media thing, performance on Jimmy Kimmel or whatever,
Right.
She still carries that banner of like hope and love, and her lyrics are the same. And you know
what she reminds me of is kind of a current day iteration of what old time gospel was. Songs that like maybe Dolly Parton would sing "How Great Thou Art," or some of the country. I grew up in a kind of a country bluegrass household, and we would watch the Porter Wagner show or some of those old shows, and there was always a gospel moment.
Sure.
And people loved it. And she kind of seems to represent that. Like when she was on The Voice a couple of years ago, and she sang, I can't think of the name of the song. It wasn't "You Say," but it was one of her kind of deep gospel-y kind of songs.
Yeah.
And even the song "You Say," when she sung that on television, it's like it brings a sense of the gospel without necessarily being overtly Jesus in your face kind of stuff,
right,
but it's definitely implicitly Christian, and we know what she's talking about. But it's kind of that, inspirational. There you go. That's even better than the word gospel. It's like that inspirational moment that people need and want and accept from an artist.
That communicates to a wide audience of people who then go, man, I want what she has.
Right.
I'll have what she's having. And then they ultimately turn back, to find more of her stuff and realize she's a Christian. So there's definitely, again, you said it earlier, but there's no two missions that are the same. And so just because you see a Lauren Daigle or you see a Newsboys or whatever, fill in the blank, you have a specific calling and purpose and mission and audience to reach. And that's what we do all the time, is helping people flesh that out. And a lot of times it's helpful, if not necessary, to have someone else help pull that out of you to really, obviously God can speak to you, can write it on the wall, he can do anything, but it helps us in community together to have someone pull that thing out of us. And that's a lot of like even being a producer, if you want to translate it to the studio. You can go in and make music by yourself, but what if you have someone who's there pulling the best out of you and going, no, I think you can do this. I think you can do, belief and purpose and all of that. So anyways, I thought it'd even be cool if we just even talk through from like 0 to 100 our like programs, what we do, and then you can kind of give input, maybe see if I can just do it from the beginning, and then you can kind of give input along the way. Because
this is a test.
This is a test. I mean, we built a lot of these together over the last couple of years. So, I at the very base level, even like a 1-song challenge that we do, right? That's like a 5-day. We developed this in your spare bedroom office at your house several years ago, to just be a wide open door for someone who has no idea how to write a song. They've never written a song. 5 days of training and videos to be able to get them to a place where they can write a song in 5 days. And some people are like, 5 days, I can do it in 5 minutes. Okay, fine. don't do the one song challenge. But it gives you that that little push that you need to get an idea from something, or from nothing to something. And that's kind of phase one, right? That's kind of our ground level introduction to what we do. And then from there, obviously, it's our community, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But the community being like our foundation of songwriters who come together and learn and have weekly calls, weekly check-ins, course material, song critiques. What would you say is the most beneficial thing to being a part of that community in terms of like developing your mission as a songwriter?
That's a great question. I think that community speaks for itself. The word community is so powerful because, life can be lonely itself. And then when you put on top of just what you deal with in your life, the sense of being isolated as a writer and communicator, so many people, hundreds and hundreds that I've spoken with, feel so isolated because they can't seem to find anybody in their church or even their town, to write with, to hang out with, to talk about the ups and downs of being a creative person.
Yeah.
Much less having the knowledge to complete all this, right? And so the community really satisfies that hunger to belong, which is a hunger God put in all of us, right? Mm-hmm. And so with weekly calls, you can always look forward to connecting with your community at the very base.
Right.
Even if you haven't written anything that particular week, right?
Yep.
We demonstrate in that group what is required to be operating at a professional level. Mm-hmm. If you want to have your songs heard at a national or global level, we demonstrate through the weekly Q&As, through the resources, through the monthly master classes. We demonstrate that. We often will do professional critiques and show what Nashville publishers are looking for, what artists are looking for. So it's a real eye-opening kind of experience.
Yeah.
But again, at the base level, it's belonging, and then you start adding knowledge and the ability to start breaking through in your songwriting. So it's unparalleled as far as I know.
Yeah.
Within music industry stuff.
Right.
So
right. To be able to do that alongside other artists or other songwriters from across the globe. I mean, even you were saying even if you don't put a song in, if you just at the base level show up on the calls, you're learning how to develop your mission as a songwriter through watching someone else do it in real time, which is huge.
It's so huge, and it's growing all the time. It's exciting. The momentum is palpable, and to be able to join week after week, I mean, really 52 weeks of coaching in NCS community. So why don't we take a quick break, and I'm going to talk to these folks for just a minute about NCS community.
Perfect.
All right, we'll be right back. What would it feel like to have 52 weeks of access to the right people in Nashville? People who've been making music for decades. People who can answer every question that you have about what pro-level music making is all about. Well, you can get that and more by joining NCS Community. Our community is a group of worldwide dedicated Christian songwriters who want what you want, to glorify God with your gifts and to get your music out there. I hope that you'll consider joining NCS Community today. All right, everybody, we're back. I really do hope that you will consider joining NCS Community today. As we've been talking in the earlier part of this episode, there's just nothing like it, and we exist to empower you. And so take a step of faith. We're now offering a 14-day free trial.
That's right.
It's so exciting.
2 weeks.
And
That's awesome.
And monthly payments. If you want to be part of it, monthly or annual, you'll save money if you do the annual. So jump into NCS Community today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So we were talking about NCS Community and the value of belonging to a group of dedicated Christian songwriters and networking, maybe creating some co-writing opportunities within that program. So
yeah, lots of collaboration already happening just because we're meeting together every week, and a lot of, you've got people, some at an artist level who are taking their songs to the world, and some who are just writing and having other people take their songs to the world. And then some who are learning from the beginning, right? They're just kind of getting into their flow of writing their first few songs. So it's a really special thing. I know, so moving on from there, I mean, what's the next phase that someone can graduate into, or what's, as they're developing their mission, they're in a community of thriving Christian songwriters, they have accountability, they have all the things. What's a next step for someone on their path to,
Yeah, I would say the NCS Pro Song Mastery group coaching would be our next step, for them, because they've been learning a lot of the rudimentary principles in the community, and with the resources that we offer there, the videos and the master classes, and just the belonging that we've been talking about. But the next step would be our 8-week online group coaching program. We work with 6 to 8 writers once a week, usually Monday night. There have been seasons where I've had Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and even Saturday classes. It's been our flagship program. I mean, we're in our 10th year now. I've run the Pro Song Mastery program for 10 years now.
Wow.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
We've trained over 300 songwriters, many of whom have gone on to make singles, produce their singles and release them. People in Canada, all over the United States, New Zealand, Europe. It's just crazy, the global community we've served. But they've created singles. Many have created whole albums, been on podcast, television, radio. We have 2 Grammy nominees in our our alumni, which is really exciting,
That's awesome.
So it's wonderful to see that the principles and the insights that we bring work for people. It's an 8-week online Zoom-based. Actually, now Circle.so is the platform now, which is kind of a combo of Facebook and Zoom. And so that's kind of fun. So it's very private. It's a very nurturing, loving, prayerful, Christ-centered group. Everything we do really is. But what we love about that is really like having a beautiful small group that's dedicated to taking you as deep as possible into your songwriting.
And going deep into your songs on a weekly basis. Whereas like in the community, we do a quicker version of those kind of critiques or just general feedback on a song. But this is like surgery on your songs to get them where they need to be. And I mean, I've watched you coach those groups, and you do it with such grace and like also direct, like, this is a bad song. Not that direct, but like you don't tell anybody they're bad songs, but you're very honest with hey, this doesn't make sense. Like let's say this a different way. Let's think about this differently. And then you not only give the feedback or the direct, critique, but you come around and then you help them shape it and know, and not even help them shape it from your expertise, you teach them how to do it themselves, which is way more valuable.
I think you hit it on the head, because what I teach in that program is how to self-edit. So that's what I had to learn. As a young songwriter. I was blessed enough to be mentored and trained by some of the greatest people in the whole world of Christian music. But they weren't going to be there with me every songwriting session.
Right.
And so I had to inculcate what they said, and really I had to understand what they meant. Very, very few times would they tell me exactly what to go do to make the song better. They would critique it and point out where the weak spots were. But they didn't seem to go further in telling me exactly how to go rethink it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, they're not writing your song for you.
No.
It's literally giving you, the tools to be able to self-edit.
And most people think about critique and criticism as via negativa, like this is what's wrong. But I do bring that, like if a song has a very weak title, I will very calmly, nicely, in my Southern way, point out that the hook isn't as strong as it needs to be.
Yeah.
But then I will make suggestions. That's the via negativa. But then we will go via positiva and say, have you thought about, maybe you'd use some rhyme or alliteration in this? Because it's a nice concept. You just haven't nailed the real powerful title yet.
Yeah.
And here's how you could think about doing that.
Yeah.
And so I want to not only point out what's weak, but offer suggestions for how they can go make it strong. And so that's what I do, line by line, verse by verse, choruses, bridges, pre's, whatever, the melody line. We really deconstruct the songs every single week, but with the end goal of helping the writer go away, bring it back next week, and it's like, wow, this is mind-blowing. This is so cool.
Yeah.
And so many dozens and dozens of songs have grown to the point where the writer could then feel good about putting money into producing the song. Because that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. Yeah. Yeah, because, and these programs don't come without some sort of financial cost, right, to pay for the time. But if you think about the amount of songs that we've heard that have been, had thousands of dollars put into them to be produced, and they're just not at the level that they deserve that level of production.
It's sad.
And it doesn't. The production never hides a bad song, so it can kind of mask it a little bit here and there, but you're always going to come back to, well, that song's just not great. It doesn't matter how good it sounds or who played on it or, how amazing the production is. So that's what I really feel like the benefit and the true value of that group coaching experience is, getting your songs 100% production ready, in the sense of like you've had different eyeballs on them, you've had a professional critique, and also you've learned along those 8 weeks how to do this yourself forever, which is super valuable.
I don't think you can put a price tag on that, and one of the fallacies that I see over and over, really almost on a daily basis, when I'm talking with people on the phone about our programs because they become interested, is that what they really want is for me to love what they've already done. They really want me to validate and say, yes, your underbaked song is as good as Lauren Daigle's or Petra's. And, that's what they want.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't, I mean, 99.9% of the time, they've wasted money in producing songs that just really were underdeveloped. And maybe they were a nice idea. Maybe there's something that's really good about them, but I'm not saying they're just bad, but they're just underdeveloped. And if they chose to spend time and money understanding what pro-level songwriting is, then money would be better spent down the road producing better songs.
How do you talk about this with people? Because I know you're having conversations all the time. It seems like production is that's like the fun thing to spend money on, right? Like that's the thing you're like, oh man, I go to the studio, get this whole experience. I finish with this slick sounding, great recording. But it's not always fun to put money into the front end of the process. How do you talk to people about that?
That's a great question, Bryant, and I think that it's a hard sell in a lot of instances, and I think primarily because people feel the inspiration of the Holy Spirit when they write something, and so that convinces them that the world should like what they wrote. And the rest of the world didn't feel that inspiration.
Right.
They weren't in your Holy Ghost moment, and so we're just having to judge it on face value,
right?
And listen for something that moves us, and so much of the time it doesn't, and so it's hard.
Yeah.
And the people that tend to go the furthest with us and who go on to make great singles and records and possibly, become Grammy noms, are the people that are teachable and say, I want to do this, but I recognize that I might not know yet what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And so they're the easier people to help. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so when people have been recording not so great songs, underdeveloped songs, and they've already released them, sometimes they're a little harder to convince that they need help because they've been through the experience. And so I have to couch it in terms of investing in their potential audience, because I think that's what it really is. It's Matthew 25, parable of the talents. Mm-hmm. We're really investing dollars in learning in the educational piece. Mm-hmm. That's what we are. We're educators. We're pastors, teachers, educators. And we're college killers because we really want to take 4 years of music business degrees and writing and squeeze it into our programs, which we have successfully done. Mm-hmm. Just drastically reduce the fees down from hundreds of thousands to a few thousand, right? Yeah. And so I try to help the potential client writer know that this is an investment in growing their audience. Mm. It's not just about, hey, give me some money to teach you what I know about songwriting. It's like, this is great stewardship because this is going to help you put out a better product that more people will be engaging with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good.
So it's more in that realm.
Well, and in those 8 weeks, they're fleshing out their mission as a songwriter even further, right? Because you reach the end of that, and hopefully the songs that you're writing and getting critiques on are aligning with that mission and purpose. And if they're not, that's where you step in and go, hey, why are you writing a song about XYZ when your mission, what you told me, is to evangelize? Or so you don't have that incongruence, right, of like writing songs with no purpose when this is your mission and your way forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let me give you a quick example. It's been a few years back, but our dear friend Becky Nordquist comes to mind because Becky, very talented singer, very talented musician that I used to lead worship with in the Midwest at a church I worked at years ago, and always recognized her talent, just super above average vocalist and heart for Jesus and worship leader, just great. Mm-hmm. And she decided to come through the NCS Pro Song Mastery. And the first few weeks, it was kind of a bit of a wrestling match because she would bring these okay songs, but there wasn't any real depth and heart and that X factor thing that you go, wow. It was like, okay, I hear your voice is fantastic, but these songs really are just not quite there for me. What's going on? And we pray a lot in our programs, and in praying for Becky, one week we got into this discussion, and I knew that Becky had had a miscarriage. Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't realize she'd had 5 miscarriages and had had a stillborn child. Oh my! We cried, and the group, we were all just moved. It's like, whoa, wait a minute! And during that time, really that very specific meeting, we and she realized that really was her mission. Kind of going back to our last podcast, it was like that program opened up her real mission, and she's now gone on in the last few years to write and release powerful songs about grief. And a whole ministry to grieving families who've lost children, who've never had children, and other iterations of that. She's developed a powerful ministry and works with an organization called Music for the Soul that ministers so deeply to grieving families. Yeah. Right? So that's a wonderful example of what can happen when you get into a coaching kind of situation. Not that she wouldn't have eventually come to that on her own somehow. Right. But we accelerated that, right?
So, and maybe not, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe that moment was like just a total shift in her thinking.
It was a God moment for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Wow.
So,
So that's Pro Song Mastery. I mean, we, from there's a one-on-one coaching experience, right, with one of our coaches, which is just, again, a deeper dive because it's you and one other person one-on-one every week. And then the artist development being the kind of the biggest thing that we do, lay out everything from being just a songwriter to launching your career as an artist. And
right.
that's a little more hands-on. It's a big program, big investment, but you get into it and you actually have a full roadmap and a team in place to launch your ministry, your artist career, and just hit the ground running. Not for everyone. It's not for everyone, but it's for those who are ready to take their songwriting from just themselves and then expand that to the world in a kind of more career-driven format.
Well, it's a 90-day program, and it's in conjunction with newreleasetoday.com, which go look up newreleasetoday.com, and you'll be blown away with the independent artist and all of the big label artists that they promote and market to over 300,000 visitors to their website every month. Which is incredible. And they're doing the We Love Christian Music Awards. We're sponsoring next month, actually April, right here in Nashville. So we love Kevin McNeese and newreleasetoday.com. But, you mentioned that the artist development program was a big investment. There's an investment in any business, and your music is a business. And if you are unable to invest financially, we have a lot of free incredible resources like this podcast, our blogs and articles, our free monthly training that we do, every first Monday of the month. So a lot of things for people that maybe are on that end of the spectrum where you're just not in a place yet where you can invest dollars. But if you really want to have a viable ministry online, you've got to invest. You've got to invest in yourself. You've got to invest in your audience. You've got to invest in your coaching and in your music so that it's the best that it can be for God, you know?
Yeah.
And that, again, you asked earlier about, talking to people about the money side. It's kind of like at church, when the pastor has to talk about, raising money for missions or wells in Africa or whatever. People get really weird about money, but I think it's because they have a bad relationship with money. If you have the right kind of relationship with money, then you understand that it's a tool, and it's a tool for accomplishing the things God's put in your heart. And God will give you all the money you need if you are following Him into your calling. There's no shortage of money in God's kingdom. There's just not. It's really a matter of your faith and of your obedience. And so I believe that if you're called, then God provides if you'll take even the tiniest step towards fulfilling that calling. But the Artist Development Program is the largest program we do. It's 90 days. It's extensive. I'm not going to try to unpack it because you can find out about all of these programs at our website, NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. I think we're going to put all the links to these programs in the show notes here. And
you can apply for them on the site. That's how we do it,
It's beautiful. And they get on a phone call with us. We're very nice. We don't tell people they have bad songs.
Hey,
we're very nice about all that. But, we're in the position that I believe the Bible calls the ministry of helps. We're more than cooking pineapple upside down beans for the church picnic and, serving.
I'm sorry. Did you say pineapple upside down beans?
Yeah, pineapple. It's just a joke.
Join us next week.
It's just a joke, but
that recipes
for you
in the show notes.
Well, when we think of the ministry of helps, people think about the ushers or the greeters at church. But we're in a serving industry because we are serving aspiring Christian songwriters and artists, and we're bringing decades of experience and success to people of all ages. And because of the way God has set us up in the digital age, we can really help people if they will give us a chance. And I think of every dollar we spend here at NCS to making this podcast, on our social media, on any marketing we do, it's to earn the right to serve people. And that's the way I think about the dollars that our songwriters and artists would put into their production or their coaching. They're earning the right to serve.
Wow.
Because that's what it's all about.
That's good.
Serving people with the love, the message of Christ. That's what it's all about.
That changes everything when you think of it that way. Every dollar you put into producing your songs, writing your songs, getting help on your songs is for that purpose. And that just drives your mission forward, right, in a new way. It's awesome.
It's been fun today.
Yeah.
Thanks
Great,
for suggesting we unpack our programs today and talk about how we develop. We come alongside and help our clients develop their missions. So
love it.
Cool. Thanks. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us today. It's always a blast to be here with Bryant. Kyle Kicker is in the background doing all of our tech today. Kyle, we love you. Thank you so much for being here. So many others who are behind the scenes here at Nashville Christian Songwriters to help us bring all of this goodness to you. I hope that you'll check out every link in the show notes, that you'll check out everything that we have to offer so that we can earn the right to serve you, to help you develop your mission for Jesus, because it's so important. And the world needs you and your songs now more than ever. You're called, and we're called to help. We'll see you next week on Song Revolution. Thanks for joining us on today's show. If you got some value, please help us share the love. Leave a like and a share and a good review. Be sure to check out everything that we have to offer you at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. We'll see you next time.